Don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the requel. Hey y'all, it is Wednesday, and today I'm reviewing the Scream 2022 version, or Scream 5, whichever title you choose to personally call it. This is the latest installment and potentially the last in the Scream franchise. Nothing has been confirmed there, but I'm just gonna call it Scream for simplicity's sake. Scream finds the town of Woodsboro once again at the mercy of a Ghostface copycat killer. As the town begins to fall one by one, Sidney, Dewey, and Gale find themselves forced to face their past and end the murders once and for all before more lives are lost. I took the famous quote from the very first Scream and used requel. And that is something that I actually was introduced to that term through this movie. A reboot and a sequel mashed together is a requel. Perfect examples of this would be the most recent Matrix movie, The Matrix Resurrections, as well as Ghostbusters Afterlife. It's something where it pays a lot of homage to the original. It is still technically in the same universe as the previous movies, but it is not necessarily tied to the same characters, and we have something new about it. We follow characters that are not the ones from 1, 2, 3, and 4 necessarily. And those people might pop up, but maybe to a lesser degree than other more central characters in the film. Sorry, I'm getting way too close to the camera. I'm really, really excited to talk about this movie. Is this film worth going to see in theaters? Yes, it is absolutely worth going to see in theaters. After seeing the original Scream movies, you're not going to find the film as scary. It's older, it's nearly 25 years old now, the original, if not exactly 25 years. I think it's exactly 25 years. Someone else did the math. The original Scream is not necessarily that scary. It has that element to it that makes it not truly like a horror in the same way like Insidious or The Conjuring might be. But this film, Scream, the most recent Scream, is the one that I feel like is the scariest out of all of the Screams that I've seen thus far. The reason why is because I saw it in a theater that was a Dolby Cinema, which I was not really familiar with this being a thing until literally yesterday when I saw the movie. But if you're familiar with like Dolby Atmos, and then there's also a new feature that Dolby has found in cinemas to like increase contrast, make crisper colors, really deepen and darken the black, it definitely made this movie so intense. The sounds alone, which Scream is kind of known a little bit for some clever and maybe a little over-the-top sound design, this film follows in its predecessor's footsteps and does a great job using sound to create jump scares before there even is one. And the score itself in this film was fantastic because you just feel yourself, your heart racing, and you're tensing in moments when literally nothing is happening because of how good the sound is. Part of the reason it is so great to go see in theaters is because of the references and Easter eggs and the way I feel like this film not only introduces new things that are succinctly and satisfyingly tied up within this film alone, but it pulls a lot of the best elements from the prior Scream films and incorporates them into this movie in a way that just really is so good. I will say though, I do not recommend going to see this movie if you've never seen any of the other Scream movies. I do have a belief that like if a movie is good and it does its job, even if it's a sequel or a reboot or something, it should sort of be able to tell you what's going on, and I think you would still enjoy this movie if you like horror. But Scream is so much more than just a slasher movie, and it's something I could really talk about for ages, but there is so much reference and paratext between the cast, their lives, their other bodies of work, the characters, the horror genre in general, and also just Scream building off of its own meta world. It gets really meta really quick. There is so much there that I just don't think you can fully appreciate if you haven't seen the prior film. So I do highly recommend at least seeing the first Scream before going to see this one, and maybe if you can, recaps all the way up to 4, because I think there's elements taken from every single one of these movies that is kind of necessary to have all of the emotions tied to certain plot beats in the film that you would expect to have. I will say though, I had only seen Scream 1 and 2 before going to see this one, and just watched like a 10-minute recap of Scream 3 and 4 on YouTube. So as I said before, much like its predecessors, this Scream movie is incredibly reliant on self-reference, the mocking of the horror genre, the extremely meta discussion of film and movies and the movie industry. There are several scenes within this one that I think at some points can border on being overindulgent, but it is in the same vein the way the other Scream movies are, that like right when you think in the original Scream they're being a little too obvious about what they're pointing out, something happens within the narrative to just seamlessly draw you back in. And I feel like this film did that. Again, it could be because I really understood a lot of film entertainment industry business buzzwords that were being thrown around and how that does really shape Hollywood and the movies that get made now. But it was so entertaining to watch that I don't feel like those moments are too overwhelming. But just know that this movie is expanding upon Scream's self-reference and meta discussion. I think there's some really pointed gripes at certain franchises, movies that are still popular in Hollywood today that feel extremely on the nose, that feel great if you are clued in. It's a very if you know type thing. And they even try to cover it up a little bit. Again, not gonna spoil what it is because it's so good. Whoever wrote this movie, which I'll put on the screen now, props to you for getting your beef out and into the open with this movie, or like finding a way to vent that, because like I just loved it. I enjoyed it so much. As Randy describes in the second Scream, the kills in a sequel or even a requel have to be bigger and badder, and there has to be a higher death count, and things have to be increased. And boy, does this movie deliver on that. Listen, oh my gosh, the murders are brutal. There is one kill, again, will not say what it is, that I was like, that is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Like, HBO has nothing on this movie. In that specific scene, I was like, it went on for just enough time and the sound was just, it was a lot. Okay, I'm not gonna spoil anything. I'm not gonna say anymore, but like, if you're there for like a good slasher, this has it. If you're there for a really good whodunit, you're there. Again, like the most Scream movies, maybe you can figure it out, maybe you can't, I don't know. I do think this is a really fun whodunit movie while still having the horror aspect, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. Is like, in a slasher movie, there's something about figuring out the mystery that keeps you entertained even through some of the more gruesome horror elements that I normally would not enjoy as much. This entire franchise has been such a surprise for me to come into, and I can't believe I loved it as much as I did. But this film in particular, Scream 5, Scream 2022, really so good. I really do think there is enough here to reward longtime fans of the franchise, and I think there's a lot here too that Wes Craven would be really proud of, to see like what has come to fruition from his original work in 1996. I feel like some of the film angles and the cinematography of this movie feel extremely reminiscent of the first movie, to the point I'm pretty sure they pulled this from the first one and then just like recreated it. The production team and the crew on this movie knew the first movie, and they did a really great job copying it in a respectful way that just makes the film feel so authentically Scream. At the end of the day, even if this is not the most narratively superior Scream movie, it is certainly the scariest and the most intense of the ones that I have seen, and I think that's just because of the kills, the nature of the story itself, and the underlying themes, as well as the way that this film really modernizes itself to not have the same conversations about the horror genre and film industry that were going on in the 1990s, but really update those to what is relevant and what is popular in media studies today. Like, I want to do a whole separate video about just that, but that will have to wait for now. If you have gotten to see the movie, please let me know in the comments down below what you thought, or if you're getting ready to see it on Friday when it comes out, or sometime later this weekend. Give me your expectations for the movie. Predict the killer maybe if you want to, of the cast that you see there. I'm definitely not going to tell you who it was, but you can guess. Also, be sure to like this video if you did enjoy it, and consider subscribing if you enjoy movie reviews as well as television and entertainment related content, because that's what we do on this channel. I don't know why I'm waving my arms around so much. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have an absolutely amazing day, and I will see you all in my very next video. Bye, y'all. Do you like scary movies? It just creeps me out every time. It really does. I just